safe
when you
place.
have the societal pressure of saying the right thing, that can prevent you from asking the question to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that is really bad.
This podcast is a production of Widener Law Commonwealth in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. For more information, visit commonwealthlaw.widener.edu/podcast.
So I'm so happy to be back. We're back. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who obviously has been watching the last couple episodes last semester. But this one we're coming back with full force. And I have a really special guest. So introduce yourself. This is Outlaw, so introduce yourself.
Well, hi, my name is Molly Sanders, and I'm a 3L here. Something fun about me is that I'm married. Just got married this year, and I'm really happy about that. I'm very blessed to be with a guy that is my best friend from high school. His name is Drew. If you're watching, I love you. And we've been together for 8 years, just about 8 years. Long time.
Very
So,
exciting.
yeah. How about you? Come
Well,
on, get over there.
Hey, listen, less exciting. But my name is Reese Rosso. I'm also a 3L here. I'm the president of OUTLAW. Molly is vice president.
Sorry.
Yeah. We've been both president and vice president respectively for 2 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't really. I'm a cat dad, I guess. I have a fat black cat named Blackberry who yells a lot, and I love her. So that's my fun fact.
So tell us a little bit about OUTLaw. OUTLaw is very big here at Widener with like the clinics and stuff like that. So what's this? Was this club here already when you guys came to Widener, or was it like, did
So
you guys bring it up, or how?
So OUTLaw, as far as I'm aware, Summer Panizzo
Okay.
started OUTLaw, what I think our 1L year,
I believe our one.
or it was
Okay.
getting created.
Okay.
Didn't know it was that young.
Yeah, I think to my knowledge, it used to be around, but there wasn't a lot of interest, or maybe it died out. And so Summer really is credited with, bringing it back up again and bringing it to life. And then we took the reins afterward. So it existed, but Summer really just brought it back.
And like, how did you, when you found out about like OUTLaw, were you like I want to like also be part of this, but like I also want to contribute something more. So like, what was your reason for being president? Like, why?
So I think so funny. The both of us actually, I think, applied for a 1L representative
Yeah, it was
spot.
1L. Yeah.
So this is how you guys became best friends, competing with each other.
Well, I can tell you about the story of how we became best friends, but
Good stories.
it was actually at orientation. No, it was orientation, right?
Oh yeah.
It was orientation. And I walked up to this dude and I saw that he was doodling on his iPad or something. I'm a little bit of an artist. So not anymore. I'm retired from law school because, law school takes up my life now. But I noticed that he was doodling a dragon. I'm a huge nerd. Tommy knows this. Major nerd. Him and I go back and forth all the time with Star Wars. Anybody ever has questions about it, please let me and Tommy know. We're the in-house experts here. But in any case, I go up to Reese and he's like drawing this really cool dragon. I'm like, hey man, I really like your dragon. And then from there, we were just clicked. Yeah, we kind of just stuck to each other like leeches at this point.
I'm shy, and so this was my first experience. You're 1L. You're like
terrified.
This is a horrible experience.
I feel like you came out of your shell a lot.
Yo, yeah.
From like 1L.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, and I just want to say for like anybody who's listening to this, like, I personally don't know much about like OUTLaw or anything of like the LGBTQ community. So I don't want anybody, like, if I say anything, it's like, or Tommy, or like, because we're interviewing you guys, to be to be taken personally or offensive, because it is like we're kind of ignorant in that way. We don't know.
I think we all are in some kind of capacity, even us being a part of that community in some kind of capacity.
First step is to admit it, and then just be respectful
and just learn about it, because there's a lot.
Don't forget about the kind board.
And I have a lot of questions to ask you guys.
No, and we're happy you have a lot of questions. But yeah, we met through that, and I feel like we've been not separated ever since, to be honest.
Yeah. It all started there, and then for the 1L representatives, we both put in like these well thought out like novel paragraphs, and it was just according to Summer, it was very hard to choose between us, so we just became.
Both 2L representatives.
Yeah. And then we formulated this brilliant plan of being like co-presidents of of OUTLaw, and which was struck down immediately of like, why would you be co-presidents? That's dumb. Just be president and vice president. Oh, so true.
Business law has that, right? Doesn't business law have two presidents?
They might. I mean, it
I'm not
depends
sure.
on your constitution, but basically, I think the way that the constitution was made for like outlaw, I'm pretty sure it was just like there's a vice president, president, duke it out, basically. And I said, Reese, I don't want to duke it out. You take over. You're in charge. I will just be your right hand at this point.
I don't know what your experience was for undergrad, but I know in my like representative letter, I was not active in undergrad, and I really regretted that. I was not really like community involved
In
with
general.
with like a leadership role.
Oh,
I
okay.
was involved in the community, but didn't have that like leadership role.
Okay.
So I wanted to do something here because I didn't really have any like volunteer experience outside of like, I worked at Mosey, which is closed now, by the way. The Museum of Science and Industry in Tampa, Florida, best place, closed.
Oh, and we're trying to go there.
It was kind of crappy, but it was the best place.
So I want to talk a little bit about your experience. I'm so curious
Sure.
of like, but I think you're obviously a beautiful person.
Thanks.
So being, you know, in the LGBTQ plus community, right? Because it's plus now. I'm not really sure. So how do you feel when you came to Widener? Maybe not Widener in specific, but did you feel comfortable being yourself?
Yeah, I definitely did. I felt like remarkably embraced by the student body.
Okay.
I have never had any personal experience where there was anything like any slight or anything weird that was said to me. When, for those of you watching, I am a transgender man. And when I first started here at Widener, I was not on testosterone. And I looked very much so the part of like what colloquially would be a baby trans. So I looked very young. I looked like a 12-year-old boy.
A really cute one though.
I don't know. It was not that great. I was not. I mean, compared to now, at least, like I'm, as you said, like you've come into yourself, like you're so more, and really, I have that to credit, because I just feel so much more like well off in my skin. But yeah, no, when I came here, even though I didn't really like quote look the part, at least from my perspective, I'd never really had an issue with anyone that was, you know, hateful or anything like that. Everyone was very respectful, including faculty.
Yeah, I saw like I noticed that Widener's very accepting of people like of any race, sexual orientation, which is great because, you know, you're here all the time and you don't want to like, you know, you want to be comfortable where you're going to school. And
You want to
stuff.
have a safe space at all times.
Yeah.
Which is understandable.
You want to be able to focus on and study and not deal with any other obstacle.
Right. The stress is already in the classroom. It does not need to be outside.
We don't need any more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if I ask like any too personal question, just tell me.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
How did you, and that's like, this is my like most, like, how did you say, like, you know what? I feel this way. I want to be this way and I'm going to stick to it. Like,
I am this way.
Like, you know, like how.
You're going to get the Bowflex and you're going to commit.
Yeah.
You're asking, yeah. So great question.
Because did your parents, were they yeah, like we support you, but like, are you like really sure about this? Like, you know, like, because like sometimes like when you're young, you don't really think things through too. So you're like, okay, what about maybe I don't feel this way anymore?
Right.
So it's like, how.
Yeah, we definitely want to talk
Yeah,
about
you bring up a lot of really great points. So first point I'll address is like what my experience was.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to touch on like younger kids and going through that kind of like self-esteem exploration and how that can overlap in like a gender exploration as well. So for me personally, I was, I don't even know. It may have been like middle school, where I just was not, I didn't feel at home in my body and in more of a
You're like the strongest person because like I want to cry for you. Like I really do want to cry for you.
Mhm.
I appreciate you saying
I really,
that.
Hand hug.
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll get that hand hug. All right. But I just remember being a kid and looking in the mirror and going, if I had one wish and it was like a genie situation,
Okay.
my one wish would be I'd wake up the next day a boy and no one would treat me different.
Mhm.
And I can't think of a situation where your self-esteem is so out of whack as a child where like, you know, you're like, I want to be a different gender. So that's when I was like, no, I think something else might be going on here.
Mhm.
But I didn't fully realize that until I must have been in high school. I mean, I just didn't have the trans people weren't visible to me in that way.
Okay.
Which is really interesting because my mom comes from a psychology background. She's a mental health counselor.
Oh wow.
Um,
So did she have like a little like was she like maybe you need to go to like psychology or like or was she like very like accepting of this or like I don't know if I'm even saying the right words or
yeah.
kind of getting
Yeah. So I think parents can struggle when it's their own child.
yeah.
I think it's really easy to be like, you know, yes, I want to support the community, you know,
Mhm.
like you be you, you know, be authentically yourself.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your own child and you have the realization that A, this is going to make their life a lot harder,
Mhm.
and B, you might not have the knowledge and the equipment as a parent to know how to effectively deal with your child.
Yeah.
A lot of that can create some resistance. And I think like that maybe to loop around with like the child and self-esteem
Yeah.
topic is children do experience that period of exploration of knowing, you know, like finding out who they are. We go through like phases of being really into things and
But you're like so was your mom like parents like were they accepting of you when you first were like hey you know mom I'm not feeling comfortable with who I am.
And a disclaimer because I love my mom and she's my biggest supporter.
We love you, Reese's mom. We love you.
She's fantastic.
Really good.
She's
Really good teammate in trivia, though. I will
Yeah.
say that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. She's a wonderful woman. But like all parents, I would imagine, it was hard for her at first. She didn't understand.
Mhm.
She didn't know where I was coming from. And she hadn't seen the things throughout my childhood that I had seen.
Yeah.
So I can remember a lot of times like playing as a child, like picking only the boy things and you know, the stereotypically like, no, I don't want to be the girl in this imaginative scenario. Like I want to be the man. And I used to play like computer games online and I would say that I was a boy.
Okay. So you knew from a young age
I
that you
I
felt
kn-
like a boy.
I knew, but I didn't have the word for
Or
it.
like the background education,
Yeah.
like until like you said, like high school, right?
Yeah. I didn't know
You
could
knew something was there, but you didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you can just do that? I didn't know that. I thought you had to like, I don't know, be special in some way to like, or medically special in some way to undergo, you know, whatever. I didn't realize that hormone replacement therapy was an option. I didn't realize that like, you know.
Well, I mean, like relative to history, it's fairly new. So.
Oh yeah.
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 Were you like scared of like the side effects or were you more like of doing the hormone like I don't know, does it have side effects?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. But you were probably like, I don't care, I just want the end game. I went through law school, that's okay. This is
And you started during law school, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I
you
did.
did.
Yeah.
During law school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Did.
big
Yeah,
adjustment.
it did. Actually, when I was when we first started in our 1L, I think I must have been only a couple of weeks or maybe even like a month post-op for
Wow.
like mastectomy.
Mm-hmm.
So getting rid of, you know, your oops. But yeah, I showed up. I mean, I didn't have like any drains or anything like that, but I still had like, you know, the scars and I still had like I was in recovery starting law school, like for surgery.
Wow. So and then like being hit with like first semester and
Oh,
like
yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good
You
time.
can go through anything, Reese.
Yeah.
at this
Well,
point.
listen, I don't know. I mean,
You are stronger than you actually.
You are.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, dude, you survived my workouts.
listen,
Mostly.
yeah, barely. But
So like are these like the hormones and like the certain like is that all like really expensive to do? Or is it the like
I'm
insurance covers it or
yeah, I'm lucky enough
Oh.
to have good insurance, but from my parents.
uh-huh.
But
I didn't
it
know
can
that.
get very expensive.
especially with people without insurance, it can be up to like what, thousands of dollars maybe?
It just yeah,
It's
it can get-
ridiculous how much
did
it
the insurance
is.
cover that?
They
Like,
cover
I
it.
think it depends on the
that they
insurance
do.
though.
Mhm.
That's really
Yeah.
good they do because you
Mhm.
know everybody should be happy in their own skin. And like
Mhm.
even like I'm like I get mad at insurance because they're like even like dental they think it's like cosmetic. I'm like no like if
Mhm.
messes with your self-esteem like
No,
it
literally.
should be a medical expense you know
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
but that's amazing that you're like now happy where you are. I think I could say that
Oh,
right you're happy
Oh,
where you
yeah,
are
yeah.
and you're just gonna keep getting better. You're gonna get fine like wine.
I'm gonna grow in the mustache someday.
On the bench.
Tell us a little bit also about with Molly like tell us a little bit about like what about like your friends like what have they gone through?
We're just
Yeah.
being an ally in the community.
Yeah, of
Mhm.
course. So I have a bunch of friends who are in the LGBTQ plus community. I met a lot of them in college, and then I
Mhm.
had a best friend who came out recently as bisexual also. And if he's watching, I apologize. I'm not gonna say your name or anything like that, but
I think that's great that you're speaking up for them, you know.
yeah, it's great to have that. I feel comfort being in
Yeah.
this kind of community. I've
Mhm.
always been surrounded by folks who were, I mean, like even as a child, I had a friend who was actually, it was the first like technically trans person I ever met actually. Now she's a female. Her name is, I'm actually not gonna say your name, but you know, like she's female, she's gorgeous, she's really happy. And like when I was like, I had to be like 11 and I was like, what is this? Like, I was like, what are you talking about? And then it kind of dawned on me that they went through the same thing that Reese went through, you know, and I was sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, like now it kind of makes sense to me. And then in college, I had several friends who were going through the transition and using hormones and all that kind of stuff. So I was pretty familiar once I got to law school, like, and I met Reese and and you know, you were like, hey, like I'm this. And I'm like,
Hey.
yeah, I've got friends like that too. Like it's
Oh,
not anything
wow.
abnormal to me. I got to go to a college. I went to St. Joe's for my first 2 years of undergrad. I met a lot of my friends there, which is surprising. It's a private Catholic college, and I was like, "There's so many LGBT folks here," which is really funny. But I met my best friends. Pretty much all of them are a part of the community, and I actually was a part of a little bit. I can't give myself credit. I wasn't on a planning committee or anything like that. I wasn't a part. Like I wasn't on the executive board, but I was a part of the LGBT club at St. Joe's,
Okay.
and it was great. We did some events, like we did like talks and stuff, but really our big events were drag shows. And
Oh.
I'm a huge supporter of drag queens.
They have the best they're the ones that invented contouring.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
give all the makeup look. I love Mario Dedanovic,
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian's. We have the same birthday. I love that man.
Yeah.
Best makeup artist ever.
Yeah.
And they give him credit for that. And it was actually the drag queens.
No, drag queens really. I mean, just in general, like not even just makeup or anything like that. Drag queens are revolutionaries. I mean,
Yeah.
they're just wonderful. They're amazing people. Like I'm obsessed with them. I watch RuPaul's Drag Race also. Disclaimer,
Something
sorry.
Like they do like the celebrities. They really look like them.
Chad Michaels, look it up.
Oh yeah.
Chad Michaels is RuPaul's Drag Race. Like
Yeah.
literally a winner on RuPaul's Drag Race
Brittany,
twice.
right?
Huh?
Brittany. Right?
No,
Yeah.
Cher.
Oh, my bad.
Probably the top share
Oh,
impersonator in the entire world. Like fantastic stuff. But just a disclaimer for everyone too. If you are interested in like knowing about drag queens, please go to local bars. Go to local gay bars and like support your local queens.
They have
Donate
those
to
in
them.
Harrisburg. Like
Heck yeah,
really?
bro.
Oh.
They have them
I just
everywhere.
do
They're
stuff.
great.
Oh yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah, like,
At the Brownstone, they have them.
Yeah.
I know there's like one like kind of close to Midtown.
Yeah, so at the
That was
Brownstone
great.
Lounge in Harrisburg, they have drag shows.
Okay.
And then at oh my God, JB Love Drafts, I think. JB Love Drafts, yeah. In Mechanicsburg, they have, I think maybe once or twice a month, they have drag brunch. So I always like to go and see. I actually also kind of got connected with the LGBT community because like one day I was sitting as a kid and RuPaul's Drag Race came on and I was like, what is this?
Hmm.
And I was like, these are men dressed as women, right? And I was like, okay, but I became fascinated. I was like, wow, like, and I
Yeah.
just, I felt like there was comfort with it. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And like, I just respect their craft so much and what they do. And it's not even like just like you know, we always like, oh, it's the makeup, but it's just their advocacy. It's just
Yeah.
unreal. I mean, like
Yeah.
drag queens, we're paving the way for a lot of folks, especially in the LGBT community.
yeah.
I really don't think we talk about that enough. And I just remember I was mesmerized, and I have gone to, I want to say like 30 drag shows maybe in my lifetime.
Mhm.
I've seen so many, I've met winners of RuPaul's Drag Race. I've met
Oh wow.
wonderful people. Latrice Royale, if you're watching, you're my favorite.
We're gonna tag her in.
Thanks, Latrice. You're the love of my life. And they're just really down to earth people, but they're just advocates. And you know what the best part about like these local things, if you go to local shows, is that it actually is an advocacy show. Like, you know, you have like the cool things and the fierce things, and they do jump splits and, you know, death drops and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's really cool, right?
Yeah.
But then there's times where like you're looking at this, especially drag queens who are like people of color. There's so much emotion behind songs that they lip sync or messages that they bring, and then they have like pictures sometimes of like folks who were killed in the community or people who, you know, lost their lives to mental health issues. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. And it's just beautiful and it's wonderful, and it's a form of advocacy I think that we don't talk about enough, or that we don't acknowledge enough, especially in the LGBTQ. Maybe in my opinion we don't, but maybe other people feel it differently. But that's how I really got connected with it, and I became obsessed.
I
So.
feel like, because I'm 27, so
Mhm.
I guess we're all like around the same age.
Yeah.
It wasn't really much talked about when we were young. Or maybe my way, I was more
Yeah.
sheltered,
Right.
because like back then I remember like I knew that there was like drag queens,
Mhm,
but it
mhm.
never, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it's much more common.
It's mainstream now more than it was. as we were
Yeah,
kids.
because you can go to
definitely.
Ulta now and you could see like a drag queen or like a transgender. But back then when I was a little kid, you would never like see that.
Didn't really see anything
Yeah.
like that until high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which is good that it's like more open now.
I think it depends also where you're from, because as a kid I saw them all the time because
Oh,
I'm from
okay.
Philadelphia, like
Okay.
in
Yeah.
the city.
Okay.
So like when I went to Macy's in the city, there was a drag queen doing my mom's makeup. I'm like, it's crazy.
They do
like,
the best makeup though.
They do.
They do the best.
Love it. But like that's when I also figured out. And then my mom is, hi mom. But my mom is very in tune with that kind of stuff, and she's a nurse. So that's
Okay.
also like coming from her background. She saw many folks. She worked in the ICU for many years. She saw many folks come in. Like there was people who were trans. There were people who had AIDS. My mom worked in the AIDS epidemic.
Oh wow.
So my mom has a huge love for the LGBT community because of that reason. And that's, I think, also why I got connected with it so much. Because my mom's like, these are people. We are to love people no matter who they are, what they look like, what they want to be.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really inspired me to also be a part of this and to advocate.
That reminds
for
me
the
of like
LGBTQ
Princess
community.
Diana. Remember she made the
Yes.
she was the one that was it. She shook his hand.
She shook his hand.
She shook the hand with like
Oh.
the first, or well, like somebody who had AIDS, and at that
Yes.
time
Oh, yeah.
they thought that it was like
It
contagious.
was contagious. It was crossing.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh.
you would.
So I also want to talk about. So this is my thing now. Like I don't understand the pronouns. Like I don't know like how you, not like why do we have pronouns? Not that.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
I don't
What-
understand like how do you know which pronoun to pick for like what you identify as yourself? Because there's like a
Well,
lot, right?
Do you want to
Well,
take over?
we should first identify that they're separate issues, right?
They are separate issues.
Sexuality versus gender.
Oh, I didn't
Mhm.
even know
So-
that. I
No,
didn't
you're
even
fine.
know that.
You're
I
fine.
did
There's
not.
two separate things.
Okay.
So you'll have your gender and your sexuality. And
Okay. So first is gender, then your sexuality.
well, they're
They're
just two.
They're just
I
two
mean,
different
two
things.
different
It doesn't
things.
have to be like in order. It's just two different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's the issue
like
spot.
yeah.
Yeah. We overthink everything law school.
We're overanalyzing.
Okay, they're factors. You know?
Okay.
My part tests.
Yeah, there you go. So your gender and your sexuality, and you know they're not necessarily interdependent on each other, but they can have like reflexive qualities, right? So if you're
Okay.
gay,
Mhm.
that would mean like you're a male or male identified, or maybe non-binary or other, attracted to other male or masculine or
Even
male
feminine.
presenting,
Yeah, or- yeah.
non-binary other.
Okay.
So like how you can have male and also gay as two separate things.
Okay.
So for your pronouns, that's more so revolving around your gender expression and not your sexuality.
Oh.
So-
I think people overlap them. Oh, my phone. Well, my phone's here. I think they overlap them like it gets very overlapped, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That was your
I think-
gender. I always thought that like when we would see on emails like she, her, I was like, okay, like that's how they like their sexual orientation.
Oh no.
No, no.
That's I assume
Mm-mm.
that. So
No,
yeah,
no.
okay.
Yeah, that's just your gender
Mhm.
expression.
Yeah, it's just an expression.
And so for like choosing or picking pronouns, it's just like
Yeah, how do you
You know.
like pick one though?
Well-
There's like so many. So many.
Yeah.
But-
I mean, it would be just like, up to the person, whatever is like a fit for them,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think it's just, I mean, it's subjective.
It is very
Um,
subjective.
Oh, okay.
And the best way to like go about any kind of like pronoun issue, at least for me in my experience, is
Mhm.
just ask the person.
Okay.
And I think like, if you're asking a person, like, hey, can I ask, what are your preferred pronouns? I would say 9 times out of 10, or even 10 times out of 10,
10 times out of 10, yeah.
people are just going to be really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
If they have like, kind of maybe this is a stereotyping too, but like a kind of a queer look to them, or
Uh-huh.
you're
Yeah.
not quite sure, they don't feel like they fit like your
Androgyny,
your
androgynous
gendered
almost, yeah.
bias. Always a good thing to ask. And I think regardless, because there are people that fit into a gendered bias that use different pronouns, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, do people like, do you find that common where people are like asking like, so, how would you identify before they ask, like, just to like,
I mean,
how do you identify yourself?
I mean, the first real conversation we had, we were driving to Duncan. I was like, "Hey,
He's like-
I like awkwardly asked you how you identify because I didn't want to offend
I actually
you."
asked the same. I think
Yeah.
but I didn't ask him at first. I didn't want to assume, but I was just like, hey, do you go by like he and pronouns? And you're like, yeah, I do. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
Great.
But,
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
when
like-
went to retail, like I was always like skeptical. I'm like, okay, wait, I don't know. So I'm gonna try to avoid saying she or he
know what?
as much as I can because I don't know.
that's actually a
So-
really good way if people actually like in your situation, if
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not sure what to do. Like I have a cousin who's actually goes by they them pronouns. Just say their first name.
Mhm.
Instead
Yeah.
of saying like the pronoun, just say, well, this person Jack or whatever. Like Jack
Yeah.
is gonna go over there and Jack's gonna do this. Like
Mhm.
instead of just like getting caught up on the pronouns, I tell
Mhm.
people like just say their first name.
Yeah,
It's not too bad, and you can fill it in pretty easily too.
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're ever unsure, I mean, a first name is always great.
Mhm.
And then a use of like an androgynous pronoun or
Mhm.
a non-gendered pronoun like they
Mhm.
Okay.
is always just a good like placeholder until you ask the
Mhm.
person like, hey,
Yeah.
by the way, what are your preferred pronouns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you may find that people will say like, I don't know, I use he and they pronouns, and then it's really up to you to choose, unless
Mhm.
that person has specified like, I really prefer this one.
Mhm.
So let's talk about a little bit about mental health.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge advocate of mental health, and let's talk about like how you guys dealt with mental health in law school. Molly, I know you post a lot about this. She
wanna
posts
take
the funniest. She
watching.
posts the funniest memes, guys.
I
Like the funniest
forget
memes.
that I post, and people call me like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I was like, I forgot I posted that crap.
I
was going through, like,
screenshot your like post because I'm like, no, I screenshot it
no, it's
because it's
fun.
so relatable.
Yeah.
It's so funny because like every time, sorry Erica Firestone if you're watching this, but Erica Firestone will repost them and I know she's seen them and I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, people know that I'm going through it. And either people think, oh, that's so funny, or they're like, oh, something seriously wrong with her. I guess I'm sorry, I'll start off. My
No
apologies.
worries.
I'm like going on a tangent, but I won't lie. I can actually be fully honest with this. I am still struggling
Okay.
severely.
Mhm.
I'm going probably through the worst imposter syndrome of my entire life.
Mhm.
Reese knows. You are probably the number one person to know. As I tell everyone, I am certainly not the top of the class, but I'm certainly not the bottom of the class.
Mhm.
And it kills me. As someone who came out of undergrad at nearly the top of my class, and
Mhm.
same thing with high school, it was a huge shift for me because I'm dealing with, to toot your own horn, everyone's horns here. Like I'm dealing with the smartest people ever, pretty much around me,
Yeah.
and it's hard. Like I'm not trying to say like I'm the smartest. I'm in any capacity, but it was a huge adjustment. And then also, I'm grieving.
Mhm.
I lost both my grandparents within a year, and moving from my mom's house, I was caregiver for my grandparents, both of them, and it was really hard to like come out of that and be in law school and try to be a normal person.
Yeah.
Like literally the week I started law school, my grandfather passed,
Mhm.
and he was like my parent, like he was my
Yeah.
dad basically, and I think I'm still going through it. I think about him every single day of my life. I never stopped talking about him, or my
Yeah.
grandmother for that matter. She had Alzheimer's. She passed away like this past summer.
Mhm.
So on top of that, and then on top of the stress and just feeling like I'm never gonna be good enough,
Yeah.
that's what, but that's how I feel every day.
So,
I
like-
walk in here, and that's I think why I have sometimes a bad attitude, because I just don't feel good enough. I really don't. And I'm being honest. Like, this is honest hour here. Hi guys. I'm giving out my whole chest with this one.
No, like
Well-
I feel like you're like the most, and like I could totally relate to you on that.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
you kind of feel like some type of way because like you're not on law review or you're not, you know.
Yeah, and not to crap on anyone who is.
No, no, like,
Congratulations.
good
Really
for
happy for
you.
you. I'm so happy
Good
for you.
for you. Like yeah,
Yeah.
no, good for you.
We all take
But
different
it's-
paths.
But
We all have
it's
different paths.
not the end of the world, and it shouldn't be.
It feels like it is. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. I think especially when they tell you all the time, like you're not going to be anything if you're not on this or something afterwards, you're not getting a job or whatever the case may be. And for me, it's really taken a toll.
Molly,
physically and
you are
mentally.
like the most like aspiring person here. Like what you've done at Widener,
God,
I
feels
don't
like
think
nothing.
I don't think no, you do not give yourself much credit. You really
don't.
don't.
I don't.
You certainly have a lot of
You
leadership.
don't.
It's
American Law Constitution, you did that event. You pulled through that event.
thank you. I don't give myself. My husband always says, he's like, you do not give yourself the credit. He goes, you work your butt off and you don't do anything. And it's hard. I think if anyone else also watching this, I hope that you don't have to go through what I went through or what Reese has gone through. Like we've seen it. We were in action. We were watching it as it happened, or even for your matter.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to go through what we've gone through
No.
in this capacity. And it was horrible. Like, it's still horrible.
And
I
reach
still,
out for help if you
Yeah.
like really
Yes.
do not. I know that's the hardest. I think the hardest part is admitting it. Like
Mhm.
Yeah,
yo,
it
something's-
requires a lot of humility.
yeah, like
It does.
I can't do this. I need to talk to somebody. I need
Yeah.
help. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's medication. I don't know if it's therapy. I just need
Right.
help.
Yeah,
And
that
also-
was me during break. I realized that myself.
And it happened. It can go from your third year or your first year or
Oh,
your
yeah.
second year or your middle of your second year. It doesn't matter. I just think all of us are going to hit at some point. We all hit a breaking point at some point. I've hit it 400 times, as you've seen my Instagram stories all the time. But I do it also, and I joke about it because it's the only way I'm going to get through it. Like
Yeah.
I
This
don't.
too shall pass.
Right.
Mhm.
It'll pass, and thank God when that bar exam. It'd be like I'm Dobby, the free elf. Like I get a sock. Like Drew's my husband's gonna get me a sock after the end. He's like, because you're gonna be a free elf, and I'm like, you're right. It will be a free elf, like Dobby. It's gonna be fine. But I think we're all in the same boat. I think we're all, as we said before, we're all trauma bonding with each other. This is like
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
trauma bonding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely tell people. I wish I reached out for help sooner. To be honest, I still really haven't. To be honest, I'll be fully blunt with you. Like
Okay.
I haven't. I don't have a therapist. I don't have anything of that nature. Thank God I just got insurance though, so I will be getting one.
Good.
Thank
Take
goodness.
advantage of
I
it.
will take advantage of the
Yeah.
government insurance.
Advantage. Yes.
But yeah, I think especially in this kind of environment, and then also to kind of bring it back with the LGBT community, like
Mhm.
if you're in this environment on top of the fact you're in law school and you're like going
Yeah.
through this whole thing,
It's hard.
Mhm.
So
I
hard.
can't imagine. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I think using the resources that we have, like I think there's the LCL and then
Mhm.
there's the
Virtual care.
virtual care. Yeah, that I think we get what, 5 sessions?
I think it's
or it's unlimited.
it's like 24/7 counseling, and then you
Mhm.
get five
Like 5 for free.
five
Five
for
for free.
free.
With grief, like it just makes it harder because, and I
Mhm.
can relate to that too in ways, because when I first started, I also had a huge loss.
Of course, yeah.
Same.
And I'm really sorry for that.
Thank you. You don't get over it, you get used to it.
Yes.
And you kind of like, you always think about them and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but you can't, but then you also have to think about it like every blessing that you have
You're
is
gonna make me
because
cry.
now I'm crying.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Every
It's all right.
blessing you have, they're like sending it to you. So
Yeah.
like, you know that they're with you. Like you
Yeah.
feel them like in a
Yeah.
way. So it's like, I think you should always keep in your mind that they're always with you and that
Oh my
they're
God, just-
literally they're gonna be with you.
Yeah, no,
You guys are so strong.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna-
Already-
I'm gonna
Um,
refrain from sweating through my eyes. Don't worry.
yeah, no, you're
Me.
right. You're right. It's a good way of saying it.
Tissue. I know, I'm very emotional.
Pass me a little before.
But like, it's just,
Thank you.
you're right. You're right. I
Yeah.
think that's the best way actually of looking at it, to be honest, because my mom always says that. Like, I'll call her and be like, I want to drop out. Like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, they were mentally torturing me. And she's like, just think about your grandparents. Think about how far
Exactly.
you've come.
Yeah.
Because I remember right before my grandfather died, he cried. He got to see me go into law school. I'm the first lawyer in my family. And he was like, you're the first
Oh,
one.
Here we
Like,
go again.
and he
a
was
woman.
sobbing, and a woman.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
and it was just, it's those moments where I have to think, I'm like, okay, I can't give up because God, I want to give up so bad sometimes. And then like, you know what? they're looking at us. They're looking down on us. No,
are.
and
Yeah.
anybody who's also lost anybody, like who's watching, who's lost anybody, they're all looking at you, no matter what you believe, no matter who you are at this point.
Yeah.
They supported you to get
Exactly.
here.
Exactly. And the
Like,
journey that you're on.
You can feel them even when like it's weird. Like you like feel the energy.
Yes.
And like everything
Wholeheartedly.
Love-
everything that's a good thing, you know, that's
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it loves it. It loves an energy. It exists. You can't really destroy it. It's just
Absolutely.
shown in a different form.
I wholeheartedly agree.
yeah. Let's talk about you, Reese. What's your mental health?
So how do you feel?
What's going on with you?
Let's do it like a AA meeting.
Hi, Reese.
We're kumbaya with a guitar.
And I am sad. No, yeah, I mean, I think you raised a great point. Just with everyone's intersecting, personal experiences that really pile on, and especially in like a mental health way.
Mhm.
I mean, you never know what somebody is going through.
Yeah.
And, it's very important to support people, not only in this field, because it's just a really stressful field
Yeah.
and it's stressful with students. But people, especially in like the LGBTQ community,
Mhm.
they might not have family that they can turn to.
Yeah.
They might, not have that external support system. So when they come here, they may have friends and they may have faculty, and they might not be able to go home
Yeah.
and say, I'm really feeling sad, or I'm really feeling like I'm not good enough. And that's hard. So it's really great to be able to have friends that are here.
I
that-
will say, like the LGBTQ community, you guys are like thick as thieves. Like you guys are thick as thieves because you guys are very like support each other. It's like I can totally see like maybe you don't feel comfortable being at home, or you don't feel that support system at home, but
Mhm.
like somebody who's maybe like you, like they're gonna be like there for you, and
Yeah.
I think that's great.
It's like that found family,
The chosen family. Yeah. I was just gonna say.
Chosen family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think Widener has like a really good we kind of have like cliques. Okay, I know I said it.
Yeah.
We have cliques, but like
Netflix, yeah.
but like it's like but if you really think about it, we're very like we all have kind of cliques, but like we're all friendly with each other.
Mhm.
So like that's like a really nice thing about like this community.
Mhm.
Tommy, you don't have a clique. You go with everybody.
He's the floater.
He's the floater.
Lone wolf. I have friends, but I'm a roamer.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
He gets all the tea.
gets all the tea,
He gets all
spread it.
he gets all the tea.
I mean, you wouldn't know. I mean, like I'm like always in the gym now, or like hiking.
Mhm.
I think like 3L, like you're never like I feel like you're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my work and then I'm gonna like
And get
do as
outta
much
here.
as I can.
Yeah, but I mean,
And
like,
then bar season coming, you're not gonna
Mhm.
see me.
Yep.
well, I
Yep.
mean, yeah, I mean, like after the bar exam, I will have an externship with the Marines, and then I'll be off to Quantico for 6 months. So I kind of have no reason to like really keep myself grounded here.
Right.
Congrats.
Molly, tell us a little bit about the American Law Constitution. 'Cause
Oh,
you're-
the Constitution Society.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was approached by Faith Pissinger. She was a 4L who just graduated. I
Oh.
love you, Faith. You're great. She approached me about it because I have more of a progressive view on the Constitution. Like, like how we like in constitutional law, we learned about like originalism and then like living construction. I think it's like what living.
The living
Yeah,
constitution.
yeah. I would like to like, at least in my views, I like to see the Constitution move on with time. I guess if that's like the stupid way of putting it or
Mhm.
whatever. Professor Domino can clock me for that. I don't. But I have more progressive view about constitutional matters, and she approached me about it, and she's like, "I hear you're this," and I said, "Yeah, I happen to be. So yes, I happen to be progressive." And she was like, "Okay, well, there's this thing called American Constitution Society. It's a nationally known thing. It's basically like the opposite of FedSocs or the
Mhm.
Federalist Society." And they have them usually at every law school. We don't have ours here. Or maybe they tried to establish it, but then they couldn't, or it's kind of like OUTLaw. Like it just didn't get the flow it needed to or something.
Yeah.
So she wanted to establish it, but she couldn't. And she was also working for them. She was a national rep for them
Oh,
at
okay.
the time. Now she works at a law firm, but she said, I would like for it to start, and I would like someone like you to start
Oh,
it. And I was
okay.
like, why? Why did you pick me? And she's like, oh, I think you'd be great. So
She was right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I just really liked the message they had
Mhm.
that, we would be talking and having events and doing all these things and being advocates and, supporting things that would be progressive towards folks like in the LGBT community, for instance, people of color, any kind of background with that. And we just wanted to make another side to the Federal Society. Basically, we're like, we want to like have both sides talk, and like we may have different views, but how can we come together and kind of talk about things? And I started it with Miranda Thompson, who's my VP.
Great.
She's fantastic. She's
That's
fantastic.
great.
Miranda, you're great. But it turned out to be a very big success. I thought it wasn't
Yes.
going to be in
I
the
remember
beginning.
you were freaking
I was
out.
freaking
Yeah.
out. We had some tough times in the OK Corral, but we really made it. We had a really successful event. I was so happy at the outreach, and I was bothering all of you. I'm like, please come to my event.
No, I was
It was,
engaged.
oh yeah, it was,
the
like,
whole
it was a
time.
really, really good event.
So actually, that's a national chapter event. So a lot of
Yeah.
chapters have that event, and it was actually made. I don't know how long ago it was made, but we were looking on the national website, me and Miranda, and we're like, we want to do something like that. We want to do it in our own kind of turn, because like some people just kind of did it like where no one talked, and there wasn't kind of engagement, there wasn't like a panel. And I said, no, I want as many people as we can have. I want to, talk about things that are controversial, and I want to have uncomfortable conversations, because that's, as I was telling Dean Cummings, that's what I wanted. I wanted to kind of approach the uncomfortableness. And I also, Mickey Davis, also, you guys tell she was there. She is fantastic. If you ever
chose the
have
best people.
Oh,
if you
oh,
ever have an
oh,
opportunity to put her on
she's great.
anything, please put her on this podcast. I'm looking at you, Mickey. Like, she's one of the best people I've talked to. Before our event, I was shaking. And I was so nervous.
You were.
I was like, oh my God, what if no one comes? Oh my God, I did all this work. Oh geez.
And
And then it did. Yeah, then it
Oh, yeah.
happened.
Amazing.
Full house and everything.
Oh, full house. It was
Yeah.
great. And Miranda and I were freaking out. We went to the admin building. She was sitting there, Mickey. She's like, let's have a conversation. Let's calm it down. Let's get it together. And I was like, okay. And we're just like talking. She's like, it's so admirable that you both wanted to do something like this for everyone. And it's not just like, because anybody is included. Like, I don't care who comes. I don't care what
Yeah.
your perspectives are. I don't care what your political party is. I don't care how you identify. This is a conversation that has to be had. It's a conversation we need everyone to be a part of. And that's what I wanted to do. And I, especially Miranda too, I have to kind of give her the credit. She basically planned the entire thing. I will give her the credit. She'll be like, no, I didn't.
No,
But
but you mentioned something that really like, and it's really true. Everybody came. Like people that maybe don't even agree with you went to that event.
I was really happy,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm
Like
always
it was.
open. I'm always open to different perspectives also. So that's why I wanted to do this club also.
So let's get like to a little bit of the tea. So tell us like what's like a controversial topic in outlaw LGBT community that you think.
You want to throw it out?
Throw it out
yeah,
there. Get it out. Come on,
I mean, like me and
Let's
Reese,
do it.
Roll the
we've been,
dice.
like,
Roll the
we've been
dice.
talking about this like for like a few weeks, right? I guess. Okay, a few weeks. Okay, time is
like
an illusion.
months.
What can I say? Okay. What are your thoughts on outlaw catering to two issues? The LGBT trans issues versus issues pertaining to sexuality.
I see. Like, how do you, like, how are you asking, like, how would I, as, like a trans person, integrate other issues into,
Yeah.
like, the
because
collaborating space?
because I know that the issues are similar, but like obviously, sometimes gender identity and sexual orientation could kind of like conflict with each other when it comes to their issues.
Sure.
So,
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah. I think that's a good question. In the past, we had done.
Wait, Reese, before you get to that answer, can you sum it up? Just because like I'm trying to follow, but I'm not. Just for like whoever like who's listening, just in case they couldn't really.
Your gender.
yeah, if I
is
could have
how-
asked that better.
Your
My
gender
bad.
is how you express is this what you're asking? Your
Yeah,
gender is how
yeah,
you
like-
express yourself, and your sexuality is who you love or who you're attracted to.
Okay, so like Tommy, what was your question basically? Like what was Tommy like asking?
So, Outlaw is an organization that caters to both those issues.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm
How do you-
saying-
how do you
That's what I-
integrate that?
How do you
Yeah,
integrate
integrate
both those
because like there are some similarities with those issues, but also some conflict. conflict.
Yeah, conflicts. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So yes, so we used to do newsletters. And
Mhm.
in those,
Mhm.
yeah. So in those newsletters, we would take like whatever the monthly, like whether it was Women's History Month
Or,
or Black
yeah,
History Month
yes.
or
Mhm.
LGBTQ History Month, or Asian Pacific Island History Month. I mean, any history month,
Mhm.
I would take that and then do a little bit of research on that and try to find like a word, like a queer centric word,
Mhm.
and then a like news topic or a legal topic that revolved around some issue that integrated all of that, like some intersectional issue. So whether it be like Women's History Month and you're talking about women's issues and or Black women's issues and or lesbian issues, something that
Okay.
kind of integrated all of that.
Mhm.
Because that was one of my big fears is I didn't want to steer this organization into being only about, trans issues. Because
Okay.
that wasn't my like goal.
And you have it, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I made a good
Yeah.
step. Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
Good job there.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I didn't think it was fair to like come in and steer and be like, well, these are the things that I'm knowledgeable about, so this is what we're gonna learn about.
like you made everyone like included.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a thing that I have felt like we really have been strong with is ally support
Mhm.
and just really hammering home with we want our allies involved.
Yeah.
We want people to be members. Like this is
Yeah.
not you only have to be
Gay or
queer.
Anybody's
ally.
to be
accepted.
joined.
Yeah, exactly. Like
be
Yeah.
respectful and compassionate.
sure, yeah. Like if you're interested in learning about things that you haven't learned about before, join, be a member, come to a group discussion. I think we do a good job of like facilitating that kind of conversation where it's like, well, what are your experiences as like, a lesbian woman? Or what are your experiences as like a queer non-binary person? Like what, how does that work for you? What does that look like for you?
Mhm.
So did that answer your question?
Oh yeah, phenomenally. Thank you.
Yeah, and we hope for the next administration that they'll do more events like that also.
Mhm.
Sahara is now the new president and everything, so we'll meet with her like probably next week or this week. But it would be good, like, it actually might be something good to bring up, like, to her, like, hey, like, we should talk about like different things that intersect with each
integration.
other. Yeah, and have like intersectionality kind of conversations that might benefit everybody across the board, not just people part of the community, but maybe like cis straight people, or something
Yeah.
of that nature, or having these kinds of questions, because it took you for like to have a podcast to like ask the
Yeah.
questions, and
I
I feel like
wouldn't
we should
know.
have had this a long time ago in some kind of sense, if that makes sense,
And in all honesty, like a topic I'd love to discuss too is like, I feel at the stage we're at in society, I mean, you've heard of like cancel culture, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So I really feel like sometimes that can weigh so heavily on someone's on someone, and it will defeat. I'm not speaking good about this, but when you have the societal pressure of saying the right thing,
Mhm.
that can prevent you from asking the question to begin with.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think that is something that is really bad.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, like we should be able to say what is true or at least seek it,
Yeah.
and not be pressured to
Yeah.
But I think there
be
has
where
to
it
be.
says otherwise.
There's a difference between being like respectful.
Yes, yeah,
and
that's a
it's
disclaimer.
A respectful seeking of an answer,
Mhm.
and then like you're just being rude.
Yeah.
You're being ignorant. Yeah,
Oh,
you're being.
oh, yeah,
The way that you say it.
I think it's the
right?
way it's
Like, the
delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like-
Oh yeah, but I will say being respectful and compassionate in the end is more efficient because best defense, no be there. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I've had to make a Cobra Kai reference. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's fine.
And I think like it's really important to be able to put yourself out there to get to know someone that is in the community,
Yeah.
because getting that experience through someone that has personal experience
Uh-huh.
will help shape people's own biases. It'll help break those like stereotypes that people have.
Absolutely.
If your only experience with a queer person was a negative one, then you're going to carry with you that negative experience. Or if your only experience with a queer person was a very odd interaction that made you feel embarrassed and uncomfortable, then you're going to have that as like a deep-seated
carry it
bias.
as a
in it.
bias,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're going to carry it with you. And then you're going to have this like subconscious negative view
Mhm.
that unless you meet someone that, is open and willing to
Mhm.
answer these questions, you won't be able to break.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
there are people that are like, I'm not going to be the spokesperson for the whole LGBTQ community,
Yeah.
And like, sure, I get that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I am the spokesperson for the whole LGBTQ community.
Yeah, I represent all of you.
Yeah, I
Deal
represent
with it.
everyone. Yeah. No, but I'll sit here and say, here's what my experience is. And if you have questions, I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge from my
Mhm.
own personal experience.
Yeah.
And if I haven't lived that experience, I think disclaimer, I haven't lived that experience. And B, even though I haven't lived that, here's what I would think based on my own. The reason that a lot of pushback is met, especially with issues like gender affirming care for
Mhm.
minors,
Yeah.
is because there's not a lot of open dialogue and discussion that's welcoming of people's fears,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
it's
Really well
framed
said.
as like if you have any a question about it, then you don't support it. It's instead of like, oh, I would hope from a parent's perspective, it is, I'm scared for my child. I don't know about this. I want to
Yeah.
make sure I
Like,
have all the information.
Is it the
Mhm.
right choice for them?
Is it the right choice for my
Mhm.
child?
Yeah.
So creating that space where you're allowed to ask these questions,
Mhm.
Like, asking questions is not
Yeah.
dissent.
and you can absolutely have boundaries and be kind about it.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
if
There is a
somebody
yeah.
asks
I
you a
mean-
question and you're like, hey, I really appreciate, that you're trying to get more information about this. I feel uncomfortable speaking on behalf of whatever, but here's a good resource for you.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, I'm not qualified.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
I don't-
just
Yeah.
honesty and kindness.
Mhm.
You cannot convince someone of anything or educate someone
'Cause,
while
like-
calling them an idiot at the
Mhm.
same time.
Because you can like on social media, like you see like sometimes
Oh,
like
God.
those
Yeah.
It's
like
a
but
fight.
there's people who like they like flip out.
Yeah.
Out.
Actually, you use this term and you can't ever do that ever again. And I'm personally offended. I'm personally offended on behalf of someone else. Makes me
It's
Crazy.
it's a
It
contradiction.
makes me nuts too, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a contradiction to each other. You can't personally be offended on behalf of someone else.
But it's
Mhm.
like how would you
Allow-
want
But that's what
people to
happens.
change? How would you want people to accept you
Mhm.
if you can't like be open about like helping them understand in a
Yeah.
way? Like,
You
like
have to find a middle ground.
yeah.
I've seen, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And for a disclaimer too, like, I think there's like like Reese is very open compared to most folks I know. Like
Yeah.
when I asked him a question, I was like, hey man, like you're going through this whole thing. Can I ask you a really personal question? He's like, hell yeah, brother. Tell me anything you got. But there is folks, and I'm going to put a disclaimer out there. I hate to be this person, but it's like also like, there are folks that like, I can understand they get upset because like, they're not the spokesperson. You have to
Yeah.
understand, like, you can't just go up to them and be like, why do you look that way? Like,
Yeah, no, yeah.
but I think there's a difference. Like I said, like
Right.
everyone can't be a spokesperson,
Yeah.
and I'm not like, I also get very angry about like oh, well, I'm offended for that person because you misgendered that person. It's like, maybe we
Mhm.
just take a step back and we don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
We don't have to be like, oh, well, I'm offended. Like, it's like, I have like a friend and they identify with a different thing and someone has misgendered them before in front of me and like, they're a little nervous to something because they're a little shy. And I'll be like, hey man, they go by these pronouns. Just next time. It's all right.
Yeah.
Like, no worries, man. Like, but just next time, just use this pronoun. If you mess up, just correct yourself and then move on quickly.
Yeah, like
Doesn't have to be like a whole thing.
yeah, I
Whole
feel
song and
like
dance.
if everybody would like well, like that would be like the best thing, right? Like if everybody was like that,
Mhm.
we would be like the world would be a way better place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not everyone's going to be like that.
No.
But it also goes to like this. It goes opposite because it can't just be the person in the LGBT community that like everyone's like, oh well, they're just
Yes.
they're just
the person is also
super sensitive and stuff. Like the other person
who's
also
asking it. Yeah.
is also being extremely sensitive in
Yeah.
some kind of capacity.
And we should be
Yeah.
asking why.
Why?
Why breaks the barrier of where that rigidity comes for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of having a judgment about someone,
Mhm,
just
mhm.
asking, why? Well, can you explain that a little bit more to me?
Yeah.
Or so maybe
Yeah.
if you're
You know.
comfortable explaining it, can you
Yeah.
explain it to me?
Yeah,
If you're not
exactly.
comfortable,
Yeah.
then you're not going to get anything out
And
of
you're
it.
not you're gonna be shocked to realize that they probably have the same characteristics as
You're
what
probably
you
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
you're
would have
probably
never
not-
Yeah,
noticed
there are
it.
probably more similarities.
Right, you probably both watch Game of Thrones or something.
Yeah,
Like, you have
like-
no idea. And I think that's also the problem is like we are so divided as a and I don't
In
care
so
like I
many
said,
fields.
right?
Yeah, many, yeah.
So many across the board,
Mhm.
and like on the LGBT community also, it's like
Mhm.
people have a lot of assumptions and stereotypes, and that's
Mhm.
something we talked about. We really wanted to get into is like, I think the problem like. You were mentioning like the social media people who are like, oh well, I'm really offended that you messed me like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. And I'm not just singling out certain people, but it's like the opposite can be said on both ends, and it's daunting on me how we don't have respect for each other anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Yeah.
whole thing of what we were literally talking about this earlier. Like respect is everything.
Respect and compassion.
Mhm.
That's
as you have said multiple times, if you want to add also about like assumptions and stereotypes, I think that's been a huge issue that has been brought up too.
Yeah. I think it's just like, again, if you can just create a space where you can have an open and honest discussion with someone, where even if someone is flying in with these like outlandish, totally not like would get canceled,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
create the space where you can say, hey, I see that this is how you feel. I see that you're really motivated by this agitation, this anger, this aggression. Why? Like, what is it about this topic that is so abrasive to you? Explain that to me.
Yeah.
And
That'd be great. Like
yeah.
to like have like,
Well,
people especially that are like against, like just to be like, okay, why do you feel this way? Like why?
Yeah, why? Just ask the
Like-
question.
I mean, absent compassion and kindness, going through these things, you'll find that a lot of people don't want conversations, just want to say something.
Or they just want answers rather than a
Yeah.
dialogue.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's the assumptions part. Like they just were like, I want to assume this, and this is the answer I want, and this is what I'm gonna get, and that's how I'm gonna feel about it.
Mhm.
And that's the problem also. People are just so quick to assume. We're so quick
Yeah.
to just want answers because we're such a quick society. We're like want to just keep going at all times.
And our
When in
brain-
doubt, treat it like direct examination.
Yeah, right.
Well, I do know, like, I know for sure, because you, like, everybody here, like, that you guys are gonna make the change, especially in the legal field, like, so I think, is
I don't know about
is
that.
the LGBTQ big in legal field, or, like, is it, or not?
Do you
Like, I
have
don't-
to say something?
I would say so.
We have an LGBTQ bar association.
Yeah, there's a bar
Oh,
association.
Oh.
Yeah, and
Okay,
outlaw
that's
isn't
okay.
just like it's across the country. Outlaw, like a lot of law schools.
A
Have,
lot of law schools have.
have outlaw.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say like a chapter because it's not like a.
It's not like a national,
thing.
but a lot of them have
Yeah.
LGBTQ clubs.
Yeah, and I think they all relatively share the same name, outlaw as well.
A lot of them do.
It's a cool name.
It is a neat name. Wish we
Yeah.
had cowboy hats.
I think we should get cowboy hats.
I think
We
I think for
should.
graduation, we always said for
Ooh.
Halloween we were gonna do that. We're all gonna be like different colors of the LGBT flag.
Aw.
And
Oh my gosh, that would
Look
have
out.
Oh,
Cowboys.
that's
that
cute.
would have been awesome, and we
That
didn't get to
would've-
do that.
that would have won a costume contest.
That would have.
Hey.
We really
Yeah.
missed out. Riley Baker,
Dang
if
it.
you're watching this, Riley Baker, you were right. She was right.
You were right.
She really proposed that too.
Any other, like, tea topics you guys want to speak forever for our whole trivia? Just kidding.
What were we talking about
We were
earlier?
talking about stereotypes a
I know.
lot.
Yeah.
We were really going into that. Like we were talking about especially stereotypes like I was talking about friends and everything. I have friends who are in the LGBT community, but they're bi, but they're
Oh.
with the opposite
Mm.
sex or something.
Okay.
And a
Good topic.
huge stereotype with that is like that. They're like, oh, like at least from what I've heard also is like it's like, oh, well, you're not gay enough because you're with someone of the other sex, but
Mhm.
you're not straight enough because you're into other people, or like, oh, like I've seen a lot of examples online where I've seen like videos or something on TikTok where it's like, this girl like was sharing her experience and the person's like, well, if you've never like hooked up with a woman, then you can't be bi. It's like, well, it doesn't mean anything. Like you can be sexually attracted to someone, but that doesn't mean like just because you
Yeah.
kissed another person of the same sex or whatever the case may be, or gone on a date or something of that nature.
Do
Right.
That
you
doesn't
feel
mean
like
anything.
discrimination also in the
Oh, yes.
community?
Oh
as
yeah,
well?
absolutely,
Like to your point, there
absolutely.
There are
there's a
conflicting issues. at
Yeah,
times.
Yes.
well,
Wow.
there's a box. I mean, within in groups, there's always the stereotypical box
Yeah.
that you should fit in of like, this is what a bisexual person
Mhm.
does, is, and looks like,
And
Yes,
believes
or a
in.
trans
and believes
person.
in. Yeah, this is
Yes.
what a trans
mean-
person does, is, and looks like.
I mean, there's a classic like debate going around like dating and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Is a straight man actually straight if he's attracted to a trans female? Like that's like a common debate that like
I have
People
heard that debate
are-
actually.
Yeah, like I also thought of that too. Like, but it's not important because, like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
but you're just curious because you're like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
but well, how
I
does it
mean,
work? But then
Mhm.
it's like,
ultimately it's just simple. You're attracted to who you're attracted to.
Right.
yeah,
Like
that's true.
I mean,
I don't. Yeah.
no one. I mean, I'm not gonna speak for all straight men.
Mhm.
You think what you think.
Right.
Right. I did. We had talked about this too. With
Oh
like
yeah, we just do.
when we were in like sociology classes in undergrad, and any.
Sociology major.
And-
It's why you guys click.
I'm a psych major.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, excuse me.
I took a lot of sociology classes. No, but I can remember like discussions about like the Kinsey scale.
Yeah.
I've heard of like an anecdote of like a man that identifies as straight, but strictly was in relationships with men. And you know, you think about that and you're like, well, if you're only in relationships with men, or more often than not in relationship with men, you must be gay. So that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me why you identify as straight.
Mhm.
But that's kind of anecdotal evidence of someone can, you know, identify one way and a behavior may run, you know, not concurrent with that.
I mean,
Mhm.
But far be it from, you know, me to say, well, actually you identify as this. And I
I
think
mean,
that factors into
yeah, like just like, why get into it?
right. And that factors into the
point.
stereotype of, well,
Like,
what I'm seeing is you check off these stereotypical boxes, so you
Mhm.
must be
Be
this, which I
Yeah.
think is a problem.
Yeah.
and
Just,
I mean, like, there are a lot of guys that will like say, "Oh, I'm straight. I would not date a trans woman," and then sometimes you might get scrutiny, like saying, like, "Oh, you're transphobic," but like,
right.
he doesn't like, he's not attracted to trans people.
It would be, it would,
That's
yeah,
it. It's
Mhm.
fine. You're attracted to who you're attracted to.
it would
Well,
be
yeah.
the same thing because I'm gay.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have the equipment that a typical gay male would be interested in sexually.
Mhm.
So I hope this is PC enough for family friendly. But I realize that and acknowledge that, and I don't believe that it's a
Like indicator.
yeah, I don't think it's like
I don't think it's necessary
inappropriate or
or-
well, I don't think it's
Yeah.
inappropriate for that person to say like, oh, you know, I know you're a man, but I'm
Yeah.
just not attracted to what you got going on here. I get it. It's
You
it's
get
not
it.
for everybody.
It's not for everyone. It's
I
for
mean,
certain
like-
people, but not for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Respect, love who you want to love. Who cares? I don't care. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
who cares?
It's
Like we have
like,
this whole list.
I won't lie. I'm gonna keep it real. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you think about it, you're like, okay, wait. So if he's has a wife, but then he likes trans like,
I mean,
so you think about it, but then you're like, then I'm like,
how does it affect my life?
I was like,
Thank you. That was just
Right?
gonna say, like, how much does it affect your life? I think that's
exactly.
it.
You're like,
I
whatever.
think that's why I get actually twisted with like even like people who are just not agreeing with it, and that's your prerogative. But it's like, does it affect your life?
Like,
No,
is this situation really worth
Moving.
being hateful?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like some situations, yeah, I'll say this: you gotta be mean, you gotta be angry, you gotta fight for something. Who Reese is attracted to is not one of those things.
And if it is like you're way skewed on what you
Oh
would
yeah,
be
I
concerned
mean,
about.
gay is awesome.
Got a lot of issues on that.
It ain't gonna be an answer on the bar.
It's not.
Yeah.
Giving away the hate that you hold in your heart, or giving away that like negativity
The
or
baggage.
contempt. Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps your life. So for you to hate on someone else's life where number one,
There's nothing
they
to
don't
do with
even
you.
care about you.
Yeah.
So you're just making yourself look like a fool. But number two, you're hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself, because you're creating this air of negativity that
That's true.
is just not conducive to
It's
a
almost
happy
like
life.
you're
I know.
attaching like a weight to you or something. And
Yeah.
it's like kind of dragging you down
Mm.
with all the hate that you're carrying around at that point. It's not going to be conducive to your life or anybody else's
Yeah.
life at that point.
Yeah, I always say like you don't have to understand, but you do have to respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
It's
Right,
like, look,
so-
I don't understand what's going on, but I'm just gonna
Yeah.
keep going my way. Like, and that's it. It just
You don't have to.
Yeah.
and I think you guys are like really good, especially like Reese, you're always happy.
There has been like a drastic change. Like I was not.
You
You-
did come out
Oh
of
yeah,
it a lot.
going to the gym with me now.
Which is
Yeah.
good. Which
Yeah.
is good because like then people get to love you more.
Yeah.
People get to know you.
I was a really sad kid. I was a really sad kid for a lot of my life, and then, you know, this has definitely helped. Testosterone has definitely helped, but just realizing like I spent a lot of my life being sad, and I'm here, and I don't want to waste my life being sad anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's a disservice to me, and it's a disservice to the people around me, because I
Yeah.
think
Future
that,
clients too.
like if you can be the positive light in someone's life, even if it's just one positive interaction, like God, working in customer service, if you can just be that one nice customer that's like,
Oh,
"Hey,
that changes your mood.
yeah,
It does.
how you
It
doing
does. It
today?
does.
I so appreciate you." You're like, I can live again. You know?
Yeah.
Treat people like they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say thank you for being here.
Thanks
Of
for having
course.
us.
Thanks for having us.
Sorry for if I said anything too controversial
No.
or any slip ups or
Mm.
but this was one of my look forward to podcast and I'm
Of
excited.
course.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
There was nothing on the table that was very controversial, and the same with us. And we hope, everybody enjoyed that too. So.
Yeah, and
Yep.
for people who want to ask more questions about this, like the outlaw LGBT community, I think you guys are the perfect source to
Thank you.
talk about.
Yeah.
And if you want to have any conversations, I'll open it up to like personal experiences or whatever,
Mhm.
even just like an ear to talk to.
Yeah.
Please come find me. So if you are a 1L or a 2L or a 3L that is struggling, going through a really tough time and you don't know who to talk to, come to me.
You can go to
or-
me too. I'm not ASF, but you can come to me as well.
Me too.
I'm floating
Same
around.
here.
Yeah, well, see, and then you realize that you have more of your peers that you can be open and
Yeah,
honest with.
Yeah.
I can send you guys memes about my time.
Yeah.
And you'll see my SpongeBob memes when I'm taking finals.
I also send quality memes. Molly,
do?
you could attest.
I can attest to that. Tommy does send me memes a lot. I don't reciprocate all the time sometimes, but I will start doing so. I actually have one question really quick. I
Yeah.
know we have to probably wrap it up a little bit, but you mentioned that someone, like I think it was Kevin, who said, "Who is your favorite teachers?" I want to know what you guys have to say.
Ooh.
What's your favorite teacher? I want to know everybody's. I know Reese's answer.
Well, I have.
We all know
Like a
Reese's
cou-
answer.
We all know.
We all know.
Well,
But-
I do have a couple though.
I have a couple too. but
Okay,
I'm
so
curious to know.
okay,
No,
okay,
it's not.
okay,
We'll just
okay,
take a
just
couple, just take
maybe
two.
one or two.
Okay,
Do
you
one,
guys
two.
first because you guys are the guest. Guest comes first.
Damn, I have to go first. Are you
Uh-huh.
kidding me?
Okay.
Look what you did.
You just Uno
So I
reverse
think-
order.
You really actually you're in a bad spot. So I definitely have to say, Professor Hemingway, if you're watching, big fan of your work.
Love
what
her.
you do. Love what you do.
Good choice.
Property was a hard class, but she made it like just so digestible. That like it was just so it flowed really well, and like she just is like a mom, and like I feel
She
very
dumped
much
it down for us.
No, literally, it was like I felt like I was in
did.
kindergarten and I wanted a sticker. And if you have any, I'll take some. But she's like just one of the best. Like she's the sweetest, and she's so she so wants to just help in
Oh my
any
God.
capacity. And I've always felt like comfort with her, so she's fantastic. And then I got to give it to Professor Domino. I really enjoy
We
his
love you,
classes. I don't think
Domino.
we're like I don't know if he knows I exist, but in any capacity.
I'm sure he knows.
No,
you
he knows I do.
exist.
'Cause I'm in the seminar class and he has to know because I show him at my paper. But I think he's probably one of the most fascinating people I've ever taken a class with. I think literally like the way that he lectures, he doesn't even look at a slide or anything. And I'm like, how do you know that much
He
information?
just walks in and is like, I know what
It's
to
off the
say.
dome.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, he really is.
Jimmy Neutron. Like, when
Yeah.
oh my god. Green class. I'm like, oh my god.
But yeah, he's probably like one of the most fascinating ones I've ever had. And I enjoy him. I think he's really funny too. Like in
He
First
is.
Amendment, I will expose you right now, Professor Domino, that you sang and it was fantastic.
He sang?
He sang a song.
Oh my god.
It's been
Yeah, that's
circulating.
beautiful voice.
You have a great voice, and I hope you know that. But it was awesome, and then he makes like movie quotes. He was quoting Caddyshack, and I'm one of the only, I'm probably a movie buff in the class. So like
Mhm.
every movie quote he says, I'm like,
Like-
oh my god, I'm like, I know exactly where that's coming
Which
from.
I was in class.
Oh,
Ooh.
First Amendment is a. If anybody is watching, you have not taken First Amendment, take that class because it is so worth it. It is probably one of the best classes I've taken at this school, hands down.
Huh.
Wow.
So yeah, you had it, Reese. on my
I
soapbox.
mean, I guess it's really no surprise, but I genuinely do love Schultes. Like,
Yeah.
she
Very good choice.
She loves you.
just amazing. Like she single-handedly like changed my perspective on my law school experience.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Genuinely, like
Yeah.
it was, I got to law school as a psych major and was like, I'm, first generation lawyer and I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't actually know if I want to be here. Like, I just don't know what's going on. And having like the writing class and holding on tightly to like the one thing I knew I could do, which was write.
And you sure need this.
The novel
And-
writer.
and then
he got the, what is it, the Cali Award?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yep.
but just having her like not only as like a professional support system, but as a mentor and genuinely like a friend. It's like one of those people that I always say, like, you don't like, they don't know, but they're my friend. I feel that way about Schultes and I feel that way about Domino as well. He will be my second favorite. I really feel like just, he doesn't know it, but he's my friend.
We're gonna send this to him.
Oh god, I'm so
Oh, good.
nervous.
And
Then he'll call
and
me.
just like another just shout out because Yes, the professors are awesome. But you know who runs this school?
Say it. Drop it.
Jeremy.
And
Oh,
Brian.
yeah.
And
And Brian.
Brian and Jeremy.
And Brian.
Yeah.
Biggest shout out
Especially
to
for
you.
Professor Meadows class.
Absolutely. Biggest shout out to both of you.
Yep.
You are the bomb and you run this place.
Yeah.
You are the heroes of Widener. We should get you capes.
Yes,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they're literally the bones.
Yes,
the backbone.
they are.
They do everything.
Yeah. All right, Tommy, who's up?
Not that nobody else doesn't do anything.
No, but they are like the backbone.
They put the team on their back.
What
Yeah.
don't they do is the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So true.
But favorite professor, I have to probably go with
Meadows.
Professor Meadows.
She is
I mean,
amazing. She's
yeah.
number
Yeah.
three. She's number 3 for me.
I mean, that's for number 2. It changes. I mean, Professor Schultes was very important for my 1L year.
Mhm.
My 1L year
Mhm.
was interesting to say the least. But when it came to helping me figure out what I was doing, Professor Schultes was a very big part in that.
Okay.
As for interesting classes, Judge Carlson's Crim Pro classes probably the
Yeah.
most entertaining class I've ever had. I
Mhm.
mean, granted, I
Yeah.
want to do criminal law after the
Mhm.
Marine Corps, so it kind of fits that I'm interested in it.
My
it.
favorite. Okay. So I'm gonna shout.
Yeah, come on, get a
Okay.
shout.
So I always, if I had I choose the 3 musketeers. I call, well, they're not musketeers, but
Mhm.
so because I came in through the TAP program, so hopefully
Okay,
we can do a
okay.
podcast about that eventually.
Yeah.
So it was Kearney, Lee, and Hemingway. So they're always
Oh.
going to be my top 3 favorites
Solid.
because they're
Good
the
choice.
ones that
Really
like
good choices.
believed in me.
Good choices.
And then I also like Domino. I do. I
Dog.
love you, Domino. Your
Great.
exams I don't love, but I love you.
I love the exams.
Okay.
Except when they were take home, they were great.
Yeah, when they're
After
take
now,
home.
they're like in
When they're
person,
take home.
less cool.
The common law multiple choice questions.
That would be it. Like, no, actually, no. I like Meadows. Love
Love
her.
her.
Oh yeah,
And I also like MBR.
Yeah, I like
she's
MBR.
she's
Oh, yeah.
she's very sweet
Yes.
too.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm gonna miss the professors and like everybody. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
miss the work. I think I'm gonna miss the people.
Yes.
That's what I'm gonna
Yeah,
miss.
I
Yeah.
agree.
that's a good way to put it.
But
Yeah.
thank you so much
sorry.
for being
Oh,
here.
yeah.
No, it's really good.
Mhm.
For being here. Hopefully we can do this again. Maybe we can have like an alumni podcast. I don't know.
Oh,
I
that'd be
feel like
okay,
return
that
back.
would be
But
fun.
we have to like everyone who's been on. these
Yeah,
podcasts.
like,
like I want to be
where's
here
it-
with Richard.
where you been
Jason.
now?
Try to track me down, like wherever I am. Wherever
Absolutely.
I
We
am.
can like do FaceTime or something.
Yeah, we can also like do Zoom one too. That'd be fun. So
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so
So
much.
thank you for
so much
listening.
having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Widener University Commonwealth Law School is the Pennsylvania capital's only law school, with 3 specialized centers of legal scholarship through its Law and Government Institute, Environmental Law and Sustainability Center, and Business Advising Program. Widener Law Commonwealth offers an exceptional learning experience that is personal, practical, and professional. Visit commonwealthlaw.widener.edu for more information.